Hi, girls. So today we will be discussing adulthood and what development looks like physically, cognitively, and socially in adulthood. We're going to focus on young adulthood today, and then next class we'll finish up with older age and senescence, the process of death and dying. So let's start with our notes on the physical changes when you hit adulthood. So we're talking around the age of 18, you're moving out of adolescence. And yay, guess what? You hit your physical peak. So, people are the healthiest or tend to be the healthiest around the ages of 18 through 25. And then, girls, your physical attributes start to slowly decline beginning in the 20s. Your hair starts losing its color, your skin starts losing elasticity, sorry. And your eyeballs do as well. Girls, the older you get, your eyeballs actually kind of flatten. And this is why a lot of people need glasses when they get older. And your senses diminish. So your hearing, your smelling, your taste, all that good stuff. Girls, your immune system also weakens. The older you get, this is why we tend to see different diseases appearing at different times during adulthood. People tend to become more susceptible to cancer, pneumonia. But girls, you can build up certain immunities over time. So older people tend to be less susceptible to colds, the flu, than younger kids are. They're generally less likely to miss work for illness. The more they're around those type of illnesses, the more immunities they build up. We do know, and it is a fact, that women tend to outlive men by at least 5 years. That is reducing as more women start to live like men, having anxiety in their life, working jobs where physical labor is important. But girls, as of right now, women outlive men, and women tend to be better at living than men are throughout their lifespan. So in your book, you read about the sex ratio. It's always the amount of men based on the amount of 100 females in an area or whatever topic we're talking about. So if you read in the newspaper, say you're doing like some research on, I don't know, the city you're going to live in, where you go to college, or the college itself, and the information that you're reading gives you the sex ratio. That will be at your college, this many men attend that college based on 100 females. So we know that women outlive men and have a better chance of living than men do because we look at the sex ratio. So as of right now, at conception, girls, we tend to see more men or more boys being conceived than girls. But girls, men from the time they are conceived, or the male gender from the time they are conceived, have a less likely chance of living than females do. So if you notice, there are 126 males to females at conception, but when we get to the birth rate, the number drops considerably for males born at birth compared to females. At birth, we see 105 males being born compared to 100 females. This means, girls, that during life in the womb, females tend to outlive males. So women are more susceptible to having a miscarriage with a male than they are females. And girls, look at how the life rate drops at birth. We have 105 males to 100 females, and by adulthood that number has dropped to 90 males to 100 females. So females tend to outlive men at every stage of life. And if you really think about it, girls, and if you think back to Darwin, theory of evolution, survival of the fittest, we need more women in the world for our human race to survive. So if you really, really think about it, when a woman gets pregnant, they are essentially out of commission for reproducing for a good, well, we know 9 months, usually longer than that if they're breastfeeding. So women, can only reproduce a few times in their life. Men, on the other hand, can produce babies all day, every day if they wanted to. So we really need more women outliving the men in order for our human race to survive. So girls, when we get through the physical changes of adulthood and we get into the elderly, only 5% of people who are over 65 are living in nursing homes. Most people live independently. Many are still working. The new retirement age is now 70. And girls, 70% of males over 70 are still sexually active. We talked about STDs being predominant in teenagers, and unfortunately, the generation over 70 tend to be the second up and running group. So that's all we really need to know about physical changes. What I want you to know about cognitive skills, there are 2 different types of intelligence that we use. And when we're older girls, specifically in the 20s, this is when our brain starts to lose brain cells. Neural connections are still forming, but we're really starting to lose that gray matter in our brain. And in order to continue our brains to be placid and to form those neural connections, we either have to use it or lose it. And specifically, girls, there is intelligence that we lose. That is called your fluid intelligent. Fluid intelligent decreases the older you get. This is the ability to think really quickly on your feet, reason speedily, think abstractly. This is coming up with new ideas about certain things. This is like computer programmers, NASA scientists, mathematics. This is why you see people working at Google, Amazon, all these up and coming tech companies. This is why these people tend to be much younger. They have an increased fluid intelligence rate. Now, this does decrease as the older you get, but there is another type of intelligence that increases when you get older. This is called your crystallized intelligence. This is like problem solving. This is gaining knowledge on knowledge you already had, learning about history. Teachers, authors use crystallized intelligence because vocabulary increases. You never lose your vocabulary. And this is why older people are really, really good at crossword puzzles. So I do want you to make sure that you understand the 2 different types of intelligence that we have as adults. One we start to lose, but the other we can always gain. And last but not least, girls, I do want to go over social changes with you. We're going to be talking about this next class as well. And these are going to be the questions that you ask your adults about. So when we go back to Erik Erikson and the stages of social development, Erickson laid out the crisis for adults, and that is becoming intimate with others and being productive. And specifically, Erickson focuses on how adults can feel accomplished or productive if they help younger generations become responsible and satisfied adults. They accept social, civic responsibilities. They succeed in an occupation and they feel competent in that occupation. They develop hobbies and they have a happy life living with their spouse or others. And if, according to Erickson, people are generative and have formed intimate relationships, Erickson says that the value that they gain would be integrity. They have a feeling that their life that they have lived has been worthwhile. And the older people get, girls, they tend to start realizing that money is not the main incentive for happiness, and for having a goal in your career to be making more money. It really is, people want interesting work, they want to feel challenged, and they want the ability to be social. Remember, adults are spending most of their social lives at work, and most of their time at work. So the number one cause of happiness in the workplace is being able to have friends and be with your friends. So the older people tend to get, and I'm wanting you to see this, hopefully you'll see this when you do your interviews, is that people who are younger tend to think that money is the main incentive for working or climbing social ladders or breaking that glass ceiling. But really, once the older people get, they start to realize that money's not a main incentive. It's actually making friends and feeling competent at work. So I really want you to understand that overall happiness in adulthood does seem to be linked to feeling competent in your job, having a partner who is close, supportive, and sees you as special, and having loving children who you like and you feel proud of, and that you've helped become responsible, satisfied adults. So with your interview and your videos, you'll kind of focus on these social changes in adulthood. And next class, girls, will talk about what people really think about in their different stages or decades of their life.